So we're talking about Cheshbon and Hanefesh now, and how important it is to take an accounting of your life. If you want to achieve greatness, you have to know what you've done so far, and know what you have to do, and what you're missing, and what you're not missing, everything. And we're going through Chovot Halevavot. But before we actually do that, in our real long introduction, there's an amazing book called Cheshbon and Hanefesh. And what I would suggest is you guys, on once a week, Wednesday night, you should have a Chabura and go through this book and then do it. Do the book. I'm just going to read you a little bit of the foreword. It says this. Musar. We're learning Musar. This is our Musar session. Musar means training, really. That's what it means. We're training ourselves to become great individuals. Ika Rishon hu havanat darchei yetziras machshava. The very first thing you have to do is understand your thoughts, where thought comes from. Barol kol she'ima adam eino yodea makir et atzmo lo yoel lo limod musar. It's very, very clear. If you don't know yourself, what does that mean to know yourself? You don't know what motivates you. You don't know your weaknesses, you don't know your strength, you just don't know yourself very deeply. Then learning Musar hopefully will help that, but you actually have to have some self-awareness in the first place. The will to grow, being honest with yourself. You've got to be really honest with yourself, because some people say to me, I'm working on myself, but sometimes I'll ignore, this thing. And I say, okay, well, if you're not honest with yourself, then you're not going to become great. There's no point tricking yourself. You're only cheating yourself. Did your parents ever say that to you? If you cheat in school, you're only cheating yourself. I'm like, well, no, actually, I'm doing much better, actually, in school. I got caught once. Not even kidding. So you're just cheating yourself. So the first rule of Musa is be real. There's no point cheating yourself. You might as well get to know yourself really well and see what I need to improve. And so there's no justifying your bad things and over-inflating your good things, because then you won't be a great person. Because then you don't know what you're lacking and you don't know what you have to fix. Now, even the person who does know themselves and does want to grow and is honest with themselves and doesn't want to cheat, if you don't understand thought, you've got no chance. Where thought comes from, because we've said this many times, your thoughts, that is everything. What is a character trait? A character trait is when you have lots of that thought. So if you have one jealous thought a month, you wouldn't said to have the character trait of jealousy, but if you have 100 jealous thoughts a day, then you that's the character trait of jealousy. How do we know that? The word for a character trait is? Midah. What does it actually mean? Measurement. So once you have a certain measurement of a thought, then you can say, I don't know what that is, but I don't know, like 50%. I don't know an example. But once it's an issue, once it comes up for you often, then you have a measurement of that. You have that midah. So if you don't understand your thought processes, then you don't have no chance, because all of your fixing, I think he's going to say this actually, but all of your fixing is going to come to your thoughts. If character traits are thoughts, basically, thought patterns and emotions working together, then if you want to change them, then you're going to have to change your thoughts. That's obvious. So if you want to deal with jealousy, then you have to deal with jealous thoughts. Now, obviously, everything's got a deeper reason. I'm jealous of people because I don't have self-confidence. So there are other things that you need to work on. But in general, the superficial first layer is, let's just at least not have those thoughts that are taking me to these places. That won't, by the way, completely uproot the bad character trait, because it's rooted in you, your anger and jealousy. So just dealing with angry thoughts is a very good level. And definitely, there's 3 stages. One is don't act based on them. Punching because you're angry, that you definitely shouldn't be doing. But getting angry in the first place, to deal with that, that's good. If you don't react, that's a high level. But then there's a deeper level where you just completely uproot that character trait, where you're just not really getting angry anymore. And that's based on letting go of your ego and tapping into emunah. So we want to start uprooting in a deep way. So you've got to understand how your thought works. Because an external type of knowing of your character traits, I get angry often, I get jealous, I get upset, I get these. It's not a deep knowing. Your midas actually are deep feelings and internal expressions in your nefesh, not your neshama, by the way, but in your nefesh, in your more ego-driven part of your soul. And they are revealed in your machshava, and they are rooted there. So what you have this core character trait. So we've spoken about this before: fire, wind, earth, and water. So all of your character traits are mishrash, which means are rooted in one of these four. So anger is rooted in fire, laziness is rooted in water, instability is rooted in air, pleasure seeking is rooted in water, whatever. So all of them, you've got these in your, that's the shoresh. And because you have a shoresh and a teva, a nature of these things, those things produce your thoughts. So that's why you can work on it either way. You can either go inside out, deal with your thoughts, but that's not going to uproot the actual midah. Or you can try and uproot the midah in itself. Learn to use your fire in a healthy way and your water in a healthy way. But we can do both. You've got to come in for both directions. And then you act based on these things. And therefore the true recognition and understanding is you've got to understand how you work, how your heart works, what's driving you. So, I used to do this, I haven't done it for a while. I used to always, before I did something, I'd ask, why am I doing this? It's a very, very simple question. So let's say Rabbi Katz comes up to you and say, hey, would you like to say a Devar Torah on Friday night? And you're like, yes or no. Then I'd stop and I'd say, why not? Because I'm scared it won't be good and people will laugh at me, so I have low self-esteem, I don't want to. Or I'm saying yes, why? Because I want to show off, I want everyone to know. Or maybe it's not, maybe it's a good reason. Yeah, because I have something to share, I want to help you. But it's just very good to understand yourself, not in an OCD way, but everything you're doing, just to question why. Even with your food, you're going to take however much food you took for lunch. Why? Why am I eating that particular thing? Why am I wearing this? It's actually very, very deep to understand why you do everything you do. And the amount of people I speak to went off the derech because they had no idea why they're doing what they're doing. There was a girl, she said, when I was 14 years old, I've been from my whole life, a non-Jewish person said to me, why do you keep Shabbos? And she was like, I don't know. And she went off the derech. I just don't know anything. My kids, by the way, everything they do, I say, why are we doing that? All the time. Binyamin, why do you wear a kippah? And he's like, I don't know, that's what we do. And I say, no, here's for 5 reasons we wear a kippah. Firstly, it's a crown, it means you're the prince. Your father's the king, you're wearing a crown, very important. Secondly, a bit of humility to know that Hashem's there, Hashem's above you. Thirdly, it's actually on your head so that you can feel Hashem resting on your head. Fourthly, it distinguishes you. Binyamin, why do you have payas? I don't know, because that's what I do. No, you have payas because it means you're going above and beyond, because the Torah says you can't shave the side of your head. You're not allowed to shave the side of your head. It doesn't say you have to grow payas, but you're not allowed to shave. So if I'm not allowed to shave to the skin, I won't shave at all. So I'll grow them out, showing I'm going above and beyond. I want more. And Binyamin's like, I'm going above and beyond, everything. Tomorrow, why are you dressed tsanua? Why are you wearing tsanua clothes? I said that to her once when she was 6. I said to her, you're so tsanua, why? And she said to me, because the neshama doesn't like to be in a not tsanua place. I was like, her school is mamish brainwashing us so well there. What a great answer. I was like, you go to that school, child. But so for us to understand why did you say that? Why did I say that? Why did I say that? Because I wanted to look cool. I wanted people to like me. I wanted to, why? This is a nice exercise to start understanding yourself in a deep way. In duties of the heart, B'shar Yichud HaMaaseh, which we're going to do later in the gate of one focused devotion of your actions. After it goes on about guarding yourself against the Yetzer Hara, which I read a little bit of that to you. במלחמתו, fighting it, אם האדם בעצס התחבולות שיבש את הדעות והחליש את המעשים, if you have battles and tactics, תחבולות, like you've got these tactics to fight the Yetzer Hara when it's trying to confuse you and weaken you and do everything to that. And he finishes דבריו שעיקר הכל הוא הפיקוח על המחשבה. Pikuach. Do you know what pikuach means? What's the pokeach? Do you know what a pokeach is?
Pokeach is green.
That's a different.
Different?
Oh, it's different? Pokeach is like a ranger in the park ranger. He's the person who oversees things. So maybe it's related to that. He's keeping his eyes open. So pikuach means that you should observe your thoughts. You should be very. Vision, okay, exactly, perfect, works well. So, here's a little quote from Chovot Halevavot. Hazirot b'machshava shmirata, being careful of what you're thinking and guarding your thoughts. Ra'ui lecha shelo tit'alem lifkod b'machshavatcha. It's very important that you never stop paying attention to what you're thinking. Once again, not some OCD weird thing, but just you should be always aware of what's going on in your mind. Because most of the time it's just running. And usually when it runs, it's not doing anything useful. Ki rova hefsed, because most of our lacking and our imperfection, v'hatikun b'ma'asim, and our fixing reactions, lo yeh ki im machmatam, is only going to be through your thoughts. Kifi tikunam v'hefsedam, in contemplating and rectifying your thoughts. So how often do you think you are aware of your thoughts? If someone came up to you and said, hey, what are you thinking about? You'd probably have to stop and say, oh, I was thinking about going on vacation, or I was thinking about that. So very rarely are we consciously aware of what we're thinking. What is that called when you're consciously aware of what you're thinking?
Mindfulness.
In Hebrew, what's the word? Das. Das means conscious awareness. Chokhmah is I have some information, I know that there's a God. Das is, I'm consciously thinking about that there's a God. So this is what it means to be an observant Jew. You're observing what you're thinking, and then you're choosing what you're thinking. Yes?
How do you spell das?
Dalid Ayin Tet Taf. Dalid Ayin Taf. Dat. Okay, well, it's amazing, Chad. I'm just going to read you one more of this. So here we go. Then he goes on to this whole bit about hergel. What does hergel mean? Hergel. Reish Gimel Lamed. Regel. It's related to feet. It's related to feet, but hergel means habit. Lihit ragel means to get used to doing something habitually. This is my favorite Torah idea ever. The first thing that God said to Moses. What's the first thing God said to Moses at the burning bush? Oh, it's going to be this week. This week.
Yeah.
This week.
It's this week's parsha.
This week's parsha.
Isn't it? Come here.
He said, I'm father of your. I'm God of your father of Abraham.
He says to him, "Sha'al na'alecha me'al raglecha." Sha'al na'alecha,
the
shoes off your feet. Take off your shoes, me'al raglecha, from on your feet.
Oh no,
So that's a bit weird. He says, come here. This is holy land, take off your shoes from your feet. One of the very first things, in the first sentence. Sha'al na'alecha me'al raglecha, which means, Sha'al na'alecha means take off your shoes. Me'al raglecha means from on your feet. Weird, no?
Why, you should have said from under your feet? Or
No, he should have just said take off your shoes. Moses knows where his shoes are.
Right.
When Binyamin plays in the park and he's got dirty shoes and he comes home and say, hey Binyamin, take off your shoes. I don't say, Binyamin, take off your shoes from on your feet. And Binyamin's like, oh, thank you so much. I thought they were on my ears. Which shoes do you mean? So this proves that Moses had shoes on his feet and on his hands, because Hashem had to say exactly. That was a joke. So the Baal Shem Tov said, there are no extra words in the Torah. Shal na'alecha, na'al means shoe. It's related to what's the root of the word na'al? Lin'ol means to lock. So a shoe is locking your foot in. So shal na'alecha really means unlock. Me'al raglecha, from on your feet, really means ragel, means habits. So Hashem's saying to Moshe, unlock your habits, i.e., if you want to have a real relationship with me, don't do things habitually. Do things consciously. Das, all the time, being aware all the time. So that doesn't mean your bad habits, by the way. Your bad habits, just don't do them. He's talking about mincha and brachas and tefillin and all the good things you're doing. Don't just do it because you're doing it. So we get into these bad habits and we get into these bad ways of doing good things, habitual ways of doing. So he has a whole section on how habits, like you talk, how you talk, lashon hara, gossip. That is just how people talk, by the way. I gave a class once. It might have even been to you guys 6 months ago, all about lashon hara, and then someone said, "Hold on, what do you talk about then?" Because that's all we talk about in where I grew up. Hello Magazine and stuff. That's what you talk about. You only talk about other people and what's bad about them. I remember I did tell you because I saw that article popped up on my phone, 10 celebrities who look terrible in their old age or something. I'm like, why are you doing that? You idiots. Anyway, so that's just how you talk. Well, that's how we talk. What are you talking about? Curse words. When was the last time you said a curse word? Today. Up again, you know. So I haven't said a curse word for 20 years. I don't say it. But when I came to yeshiva, after about 3 months I was in yeshiva, I didn't hear a curse word. Went back to England, and my friends were like, "How the?" And I was like, like, you get sensitive. It's like, why are you using that word? I can't listen to Tony Robbins, and I just can't listen to curse words. But after I was in England for 2 days, I got used to it, and again I was like, okay. But once you're away from it, you reach a high level of like purity, and I don't want that. I don't want those words. I don't want those pictures. I don't want that. So that's all the bad things about habit. But then he says this: Rav tov tzafun b'choach hahergel. However, there's immense greatness that could be had from forming good habits. Good habits. Now, the key is, by the way, to do your good habits. Of course, I'm going to wash my hands. Of course, I'm going to say Modeh Ani as soon as I wake up. I've just trained myself. That's what I do. And of course, I'm then going to wash my hands. And I'm not going to speak to people until I've spoken to Hashem, at least the first 5 brachas and stuff. And so you're getting into good habits. I say Asher Yatzah after I go to that's just what I do. I'm not even thinking about it anymore. However, the key is to get into good habits, but still do them with das. That's the problem when you get religious. So you'll put on your right shoe first and then your left shoe because you're just used to that. But it's a problem because then you can get so used to it that you've lost your consciousness. So it's being able to get in the right habit but not do them habitually. Someone gave me an example yesterday in the middle of my class in Essentials. It was like, when you drive, when you first start driving, you have to concentrate. And then you get to a point where you're not concentrating anymore. It's called unconscious something concentration. And he said, I feel that that's how we have to be in our Judaism. And I said, no, it's awful. You want to be very conscious of what you're doing and why you're doing it and who you're speaking to. But yes, it shouldn't be a struggle for you to do it because that's what I do. It is just what I do, but I still do it consciously. Shenata Hashem yitbarach b'nefesh Adam. Hashem put us this power of habit into our soul. Ki kol avodah chinuch hamusar na'asid be'ezrat uvechocho. All of Musa, all of training, comes with this power of retraining your habits. That's what we're actually doing in Musa, retraining how you're thinking, retraining how you're speaking, we're completely retraining ourselves. When I was doing martial arts, I had to practice the same block 1,000 times, again. But when it came to a fight, I didn't have to think, now this is the block I have to do. You're just so used to it's basically muscle memory. So what we want to do is we want to have muscle memory in everything we're doing, in how we speak. So my voice doesn't say negative things, but still remain conscious while we're doing. Anyone who learns to do this is praiseworthy. V'af im nistabecha adam behergelim ra'im. And even if you're caught up in bad habits, yecholhu ha'adam letaken mimaka atzmo ratia. You can actually fix your bad habits by just training yourself for good habits. So I was reading this, and I did this 6 months ago. I realized I was checking WhatsApp too much. I just couldn't stop checking WhatsApp. And I knew I didn't have it. I was just chopping it. So what I did was, at least a few times a day, when I reached to check WhatsApp, I'd stop and I'd talk to Hashem for 1 minute instead. So I'd use my bad habit as a catalyst to do something good. For example, you're about to smoke a cigarette, stop yourself and do 10 push-ups instead. So you're actually just flipping it. You're using this power of habit. So I'm in the habit of doing something bad, so use that to spark something good. Amazing idea. I really I've got to do it again now. I do it a bit. But to use that power, you can fight, you can use it itself, you can use the power of habit itself to change your habits. Lishanot et koach achergel, shenase etzlo. Fine, so you can change your bad habits into good habits. And then you can use it as a tool and a powerful force in your avodas Hashem. I'm just doing it. I'm doing it. This is what I do. Alarm goes off. Get up, Madani. That's what I do. And then you get used to. You accustom yourself to do good things. Once you do that, by the way, and when you go to the gym. Let's say you go to the gym, you don't like it at first, but then you really get into it. Then when you miss it for a day, it's annoying. You're like, I've just gains, man. You miss your gains the whole day. What's going on there? So the same too is like when you forget to say a bracha. It's like, oh no, and it's too late. It's more than 72 minutes. I just can't make a bracha. So once you start training yourself to do the right thing, then you've got this good thing. Like for example, you probably don't make Havdalah that often, but I make Havdalah every week. And I used to not necessarily say the after bracha on the wine straight away. And 1 week I forgot. I realized I woke up Sunday morning. I was like, I didn't say the after bracha. So now, as soon as I finish Havdalah, before anything else happens, I say the after bracha. So I got myself in that habit. Getting good habits. But then I still have to make the bracha with kavanah. And then, alidei hinuchim musariyim, I by this education, this training, lumat hahergelim harim, against the bad ones, va'akchem l'shorsham, and then you uproot them from your heart. I.e., you just don't want them at some point. I just don't. I'm not attracted to that. I just can't do it. So if the Rosh Yeshiva doesn't struggle to not speak Lashon Hara, it's disgusting for him. It's not an issue. If you saw a rotten apple on the floor, you don't struggle to not eat it. You're just like, that's disgusting. It's not a fight. So for the Rosh Yeshiva, it's not even a thing anymore. He's just disgusted by it. So that means he's completely uprooted it. And we'll just finish on this. This is with the habitual thinking. Now most of your thinking is completely habitual because you're not so conscious of it. So you're just thinking about her again. You just can't stop thinking about her, and I've done it like 2 years ago, and I can't stop thinking about her. Why do I just keep thinking about her over and over and over again? Because it's just a habit. That's where your mind goes. You basically you got network pathways in your mind, and you just go down them. It's just easy to go down them. I thought it a good mashal actually, long before I knew what a mashal was. I used to go to this reservoir in the forest outside my Thai village, and there was I made a little path, and I went there every day. So the path got to be a nice path. But then that one day I met the snake, the king cobra. If you haven't read the story, you can read it. Met the cobra, ran away. But then I still wanted to go, but I made a different path. So what it was, when I came to the path, there was a clear path, and then there was the jungle. So I had to start hacking a new path. I always had a machete often. So I hacked a new path. And so at first it was hard to hack the new path. But after a while you hack a new path and then that one grows over again. So that takes work. So that's what you've got to try and do with your brain, rewiring your brain. So your brain is going to keep thinking about her, and you've got to stop and say, I'm going to think about Mishnayos instead. And then what actually happens is, Rav Hirschman's not struggling not to think about women. He just can't stop. In fact, so much so that even when they go to the bathroom, they find it very hard because you're not allowed to think Mishnayos in the bathroom. So they find it hard. They like make noise. Who was it? One of the Gedolim used to keep making noise in the bathroom. And he was like, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I can't stop thinking about the Gemara." Why would Rabbi Akiva say you can make a sukkah on a boat that doesn't survive the wind? I just can't stop thinking about that.
Thinking about Bahrain.
You're not allowed to think about Torah in the toilet, but these big tzaddikim, they can't. That's just what they're thinking. I can't stop thinking that. So the Vilna Gaon used to do maths in the bathroom, and he wrote a book on maths. He answered some crazy maths question. I tend to try to do Cheshbon and Hanefesh. One of my rebbeim said, "Do Cheshbon and Hanefesh in the bathroom." Not like how am I doing, how am I sitting, but in life, how am I doing? So, but it's not a problem for me because I'm not obsessed with the Gemara and Mishnayos. So you're gonna basically accustom yourself to having positive thoughts, and then basically you're just gonna think positive things. And when negative thoughts come, they stand out more. Then, when I'm not feeling kind of happy and full of vitality, sometimes I'm on my bike and I just realize, I stop and I'm like, hold on, what happened? And I think and I go, oh, that person said that, or something. Because my natural state of being is quite joyful and full of vitality and contentment, so it's very clear to me when I'm not feeling happy. For other people, not you guys, thank God, but they're feeling not great most of the time, actually. That's just how they've habituated themselves to feel. So we could completely flip everything with the power of habit. So basically by doing this you're going to completely change your whole rewire, how your mind is working, and it's just going to work in a clearer and more positive, healthy, uplifting way, and in that way you can uproot everything that you need to uproot.